Mercy finally got some pro play, but is she actually any good? Just last weekend, one of the top Korean teams, AGG, played Mercy against another top Korean team, Crazy Raccoons. So it begs the question, why? To help me out, I reached out to Neandra, a renowned Mercy enthusiast and fellow content creator, to help break this down. Firstly, we have to talk about the map and bans playing into Mercy's strengths. In almost all cases where we've seen Mercy, it's been on first point Circuit Royale. It doesn't take a genius to point this out, but one of Mercy's biggest weaknesses is being near defenseless against most flankers. A problem that the narrow nature of Circuit Royale first fixes because there are no flank paths. This is also why we've seen Mercy get swapped off when teams cap first, because the map starts to open up a lot more. I'd be lying if I didn't say the bans also played a part in this too. Crazy Raccoons had to actually ban out the Illari just for the Mercy to be played, because previously, AGG played BAP Illari over BAP Mercy. We'll get into why that is a bit later. Now, if you watch Lee Soo-min's POV passively, it doesn't look very impressive. After all, he's just holding beam on his Freya, right? Kinda reminiscent of that Ana Mercy meme. But focus on why he's boosting his Freya and when he chooses not to. It's all based on aggression. Part of that is positional aggression. As you can see, the Freya is more aggressive than anybody else on AGG. However, the second that the Sojourn sliced the high ground with a fully charged railgun, does Lee Soo-min change his damage boost targets. Again, this isn't groundbreaking advice, any half-decent Mercy guide will teach you this, but I do bring this up to counteract the narrative of Mercy just being a stationary beambot. Because aggression is fluid and changing, we see Lee Soo-min switch back to his Freya when she starts playing aggressively with her dashes. Then, he swaps back to his Sojourn, who swings super wide around the coast side. There were brief moments when Lee Soo-min would actually continue to damage boost his DPS, even if they weren't full HP. Again, it's to do with aggression. His Sojourn, despite being half HP, isn't actually taking lethal amounts of aggression. Meanwhile, the Sojourn is outputting her own aggression, so Lee Soo-min continues to boost. Neandra told me this is one of the most important factors in differentiating between a good and a great Mercy. Knowing when to continue boosting an injured ally. Obviously, in order to do all this, you need to have a high level of awareness, which is where your Guardian Angel comes in. A lot of the time, Lee Soo-min will just jump up vertically next to a building where you can just see the whole fight. Of course, in order to help your Sojourn take an angle, you first need to see her take it. But awareness isn't just useful for knowing who to pocket. Take this freeze frame here, where there is so much going on. Your own BAP is using window, your Sojourn is an overclock, the enemy Sigma is fluxing, and your own Sigma is getting pressured by beats. By staying further back and high in the sky, Lee Soo-min is able to keep object permanence of everything that goes on. Helping his Freya here, then flying backwards, is a perfect case because he's aware of the threat down main that he wants to avoid. This is the skill cap of Mercy, knowing who to help, when to help them, and how to do it safely. It's also worth mentioning your damage boost breakpoints. The biggest one is that Sojourn can just about one-shot Freya players, but honestly, as I mentioned briefly in a previous video, the biggest breakpoint is just preventing the Freya 2-shots due to your consistent healing. In fairness, I didn't see a flat-out breakpoint change from Lee Soo-min alone, but it's obviously a contributing factor to playing Mercy here. Don't forget that heroes like Freya can charge their ultimate faster, which compounds with how fast she can already charge it by herself. Now, even though Lee Soo-min swaps off the Brig the second he sees D.Va, which, don't worry, we'll talk about later, he thankfully picks up Mercy again for the overtime rounds, which I think is the perfect time to talk about perks. He ends up picking the extended Guardian Angel perk, as well as the Flash Heal Major perk. Basically, it's a 15-second cooldown where you can instantly heal someone for 50 HP if they're above half health, or the healing is tripled if they're below half HP. It's pretty reminiscent of Brig's old repair pack in GOATs for those who still have that PTSD. As for the minor perk, I assume he just took the extra distance because on his first attack, he didn't need to resurrect anyone, so it got little value, literally suffering from success. The Flash Heal though becomes very useful for absorbing bursts of aggression. We saw Jasmine get pressed a lot on the first attack, where having Flash Heal would have been perfect. And clearly, Lee Soo-min knows this because he's able to flash heal his Sigma at the ender first. Of course, Max goes to D.Va, but this time, Lee Soo-min doesn't swap, likely because of the Valkyrie. Thankfully, the flash heal allows him to quickly save his Baptiste if he gets dove, which is exactly what happens. Now, as for your major perk, getting a secondary damage beam is very nice, but as people like Neandra have talked about, it can conflict with your general playstyle of damage boosting off angles. Not to mention, it comes at a bigger opportunity cost of potentially saving a life. Before I continue, check out my Spyro approved coaching either on Metafy or on Discord, links are below. Now, even though there's nothing groundbreaking about your Valkyrie and Resurrects, I still need to mention it. Valkyrie is a tempo ultimate, basically meaning it speeds up or slows down the pace of a fight. You could use Valk in a 4v5 for example to slow down the fight and buy time for your teammate to come back. You could also use it in a 5v4 for the exact opposite reason. Or you could use it at the beginning of a fight to give your team a slight edge in the long run. It's fairly basic stuff that if you watch any Pro Mercy POV, you'll pretty much see universally. I do wish I could also show more Resurrects, but AGG just rolled so hard that Lee Soo-min didn't need to res that much. But that's where that previous section on awareness matters so much, because you need to know if an area is safe before you res. Lastly, what would a Mercy video be without talking about her movements? Lee Soo-min didn't actually do any crazy movement tech, mainly just simple back jumps to maximize beam range and safety. Factors that again, Neandra mentioned to me as particularly important. As the saying goes, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. Wasting Guardian Angel can put yourself in danger, or you'll waste the cooldown for when you actually need to fly to someone. This becomes especially important up against dive heroes. Now, we need to talk about the downsides with Mercy. In fact, she's such a situational hero that making this video was incredibly difficult because she almost never gets played. And when she does, it's for 2 fucking minutes before counter swap happens. For now, I think Lifeweaver remains a good comparison point because we've seen him get a lot of play recently more than Mercy. One of the main factors here is that a key part of Mercy's utility, her Resurrect, is very hard to actually use in the mid-fight. But not just that. Resurrect is a retroactive piece of utility. In other words, it only becomes useful when something has already happened. Its inherent design rewards bad play, and against good teams, they're not just gonna let you res in a 4v5. Compare this to Life Grip or any other support utility, and this doesn't apply. Abilities like Grip, Lamp and Suzu prevent you from going down in the first place, making it much more consistently useful. So, considering a key part of Mercy's kit either never gets used or is difficult to actually use, and it makes sense as to why we see Zen or Illari on poke maps. On Illari specifically, you can be significantly more proactive, not just with Captive Sun, but your own damage. Pylon is also just incredibly hard to break if it's well placed, meaning its consistent value. I'm not even considering how Mercy doesn't play well with or against most dive heroes, which is already a major factor. Good luck playing Mercy on New Junk City against a hard engage comp. Now on to addressing comments, but honestly there's not much to say here. I appreciate the comments about the intros because those 10 seconds take as much time to edit as the rest of the video, so there's that. Also, here's Neandra's full comments by the way, in case you were curious about what they said to me. Feel free to pause. Anyways, click on this video on screen if you enjoyed this one. Until next time.